of slides, go through them. It's really to give a sense of the opportunity here that we have together as, as an industry. So one of the things is certainly to keep in mind really the biggest context I think that we all have is the smartphone. And what's happened with smartphones and the transitions from feature phones to smartphones over the last number of years has been truly amazing. And really the smartphone now has put the consumer in the center. So with the result that it's impacting operators who've increased their percentage of smartphones, both in the US and worldwide. The handset makers themselves have greatly increased. In some cases, many of them have phased out their feature phones. I think that there's been some public statements from companies like Sony Ericsson that essentially their entire portfolio would be smartphones. And developers. I think there's a number like by 2016 there'll be 100 billion mobile apps or something on that order. And really it's all about making the consumer the center, having this easy to use, rich user experience that's consumer centric and consumer focused. And of course location is a part of that. And the numbers are really staggering. I think it's 2.5 billion smartphones to be shipped cumulatively between 2011 and 2014. That's a number from Gartner. The percentage of smartphones has gone from less than 15% to more than 45%. Clearly, there's still a big emerging markets in the developing world that are primarily super low cost, voice only. That's also an important market too. But for probably the focus in this room, it's really this scale is what's very exciting in terms of making these devices context aware and location capable. And essentially, a very high percentage of these devices have cellular, GPS, Wi-Fi, other short-range connectivity technologies, which all can be leveraged to do location better. And really what we see, I think from a Qualcomm perspective, a number of years ago, people in Qualcomm had said that we wanted the wireless internet to exceed the wired internet. And it's actually happening. It's really amazing. So we have these devices that are always with us, real time, and of course the real time has a lot of implications and benefits from the cellular technologies. We're now seeing LTE being rolled out, getting high tens of megabits per second to a mobile device when you're moving, which is incredible. Context aware in a broad sense, and of course location is a very important part of that. It's not the only part of it. Use of sensors, use of other kind of context applications really make the device really special in terms of its awareness of what the user and consumer is doing. Leverages cloud services. In many ways, app stores, many other kind of information sources in the cloud, and is highly personalized. And of course, the apps are one way to do that. So it's really shifting to what this slide is, a carry-along experience with location is an absolutely central piece of it. And I guess part of the view that we have is that location is an absolutely central part of that context-aware smart device, smartphone user experience. We're seeing many new use cases. Again, always connected, always on, much greater need for personalization and content. The technology advancements, and I'll talk a little bit more about them shortly, and of course today we're going to hear a lot more about them. It's not just GPS, it's not just Wi-Fi, it's a hybrid of many positioning sources, getting greater accuracy outdoors and indoors, fully leveraging all possible kinds of assistance information in the cloud. And as was already mentioned, we're seeing the emergence of new indoor and business models leveraging location. I think one of the analysts has said global LBS revenue more than $10 billion by 2015. And what we're seeing is, as well as, of course, the technology providers, the carriers, the app developers, it's also advertisers, retailers, entertainment venues, all trying to monetize location in more advanced ways and more innovative ways. So it's a great time to be working in location technology. I think we all have a tremendous, we're lucky to be in this industry right now. 10 years ago, I guess as many of you know, it was really few dedicated devices, much more focused on single point fixes, emergency services, and people's expectations adapted to the technology limitations, whereas now it's much more about converged devices, unlimited entertainment and social apps, and really people just want quote-unquote GPS to work everywhere, outdoors, indoors, in transitions, all over the world, in any application. And I think 66 million mobile apps to be downloaded by 2016. A large percentage of them, as already mentioned in earlier presentations, have location embedded, not explicitly, but implicitly, where location is really part of the overall mobile user context. So as we think about business models going forward, of course, you have all these groups here seeking to monetize LBS. I think certainly the venues are going to play an increasingly important role, which is perhaps different from the outdoor application. I think some of the, as well, of course, of making the device richer from a user perspective, a lot of the analytics, data mining applications that run on top of a location platform are going to become extremely important. So there's both a business model for a venue owner or a site owner, as well, of course, as for the user, as well as for the mall owner, and of course still a very important role for operators as well. So I guess some of the benefits for this location awareness, completely new apps will evolve. And I think to the extent we have spoken to a large number of app developers, just there is, in our view, an insatiable demand for that higher accuracy. And we already have a reasonable coarse accuracy from cellular, Wi-Fi, but getting that, as we call it, very small blue dot on an indoor map is something that app developers have told us is extremely valuable. And many of these business models and use cases have already been formulated and are just waiting for the technology providers to deliver that. So immediate measurement of validation, and also the benefit to influence behavior. Again, where there's a tie-in from the user to the site to the app developer. So again, I think we're really at the very beginnings of this. A lot of room for both business and technology innovation. So really our view is the next frontier is what we're calling precise indoor location. And in many sense that really means also site-specific indoors. Right now we have actually on our platforms and other people's platforms quite good ubiquitous location, both indoors and outdoors. Even more than 10 years ago, Qualcomm had a technology called AFLT, which does ranging from cell towers. We're building on that. We're also using Wi-Fi, like everyone else in the industry. So that problem of, let's call it coarse, ubiquitous location is largely solved. Of course, there's still power consumption optimization, other kinds of optimizations, but it's really the precise indoor location, meaning low integer meters in as many indoor sites as possible, that we see as the next big frontier, and we think it will enable a large class of new context-aware applications in both public and private venues. So true indoor pedestrian navigation, tracking at, for example, 1 hertz, and a lot of other interesting use cases, local services discovery, push advertising and context delivery, of course, with the user opt-in, finding people, friend finder applications in a building, and immediate consumer analytics, where the mall and the store are part of the overall process. So a little bit more about I guess some of the use cases. Certainly malls are very important. Stadiums, where of course you could have both an outdoor indoor element as well. Airports, train stations, campuses, entertainment, theme parks, again, which have both a combination of outdoor, indoor, and the users really don't care. They don't care whether it's Wi-Fi or cellular or GPS or GNSS sensors. People just want the location to be there. I guess some of the applications which in some sense feed on themselves, when you're in a venue, getting a service discovery announcement that tells you about certain things that are available in that venue. So new events, offers, alerts in a familiar environment, orientation and context information in a new environment, indoor discovery pushed to the user, showing places on a navigation path, personal recommendations. Again, it has to be balanced with a thoughtful user opt-in. You can't be that you're bombarded by indoor location ads when you're walking in a mall. That'd be terrible. So some balance between a sensible opt-in, which we as an industry have to make sure that the privacy aspects are managed. But the number of use cases is really amazing what can be done here. And again, what we've heard consistently from app developers is just make that indoor location work, and the applications will take full advantage of it immediately. So in terms of key requirements from some of the partners that we've spoken to, as well as of our internal teams, certainly use cases, and certainly the navigation use case is important. It's not the only one. Being able to couple indoor location technology with social networking, being able to do friend finder, push service discovery, context awareness. They're also, so it's a broader than just the single 1 Hertz tracking indoors, which in itself would be an amazing achievement. Performance, meaning fast responsiveness, low power, being able to have this context awareness always on. So we need to get to a point where the device has a sense of its own location to say less than 10 meters at a small percentage of the phone idle current. In that case, all these applications can actually reside on the phone constantly. So certainly having something that's significantly less than 10 meters is very important. Scalability, meaning it can be deployed easily in venues. It doesn't necessarily mandate a large amount of additional infrastructure. It can take advantage of existing infrastructure in the same way that many of the existing outdoor technologies take advantage of existing infrastructure, which is there already for data communications, but is leveraged for location technology. Ability to scale, to deploy easily, and of course cost, so that there's not a big infrastructure cost to a site or developer. The privacy aspect is extremely important, so that needs to be managed both from the device side, handset maker side, technology provider side, venue side, mobile OS side. There has to be a consumer buy-in if there's any kind of data sharing that needs to be done, because I think none of us want our companies to be across the front of the Wall Street Journal or New York Times for violating user privacy. So, and in fact, that in some cases can also influence architecture quite a bit, and making sure that the full support for privacy and is there. For example, many corporate venues would not necessarily want their access points to be all over the internet. Standardization, and I certainly agree with what Ted was saying earlier. Maybe not quite the proposal that he mentioned, but broadly, as overall standardization within our industry. I think there are many ways to do it. As we'll hear later from Kirk and our team, there's also existing standards bodies which can be leveraged. But I think broadly, a standardization to make these indoor beacons available is definitely a good initiative. And then, of course, ecosystem support, meaning venues and app developers as well. So I think these are some of the key elements that we think are very important. I think we believe have made progress to solving some of them, and there's still a lot of opportunity for us as an industry. And really, it's about an ecosystem. I think that's probably what I would leave, the thought that I would leave you all with. And that ecosystem involves some of the traditional players in the mobile LBS market. Operators still have a very important role. The mobile device vendors, of course, the technology providers, but then also now wireless LAN infrastructure providers have a bigger role. Map providers have a very interesting role, indoor maps and making those maps available, standardizing those maps. System integrators who may have relationships with venues, and so it's really all of those together. We believe can bring this overall solution and allow this ecosystem to grow. So we are certainly heavily involved with this. I think you'll see some major announcements from Qualcomm later this year, which will combine both partners and technology. And so we certainly see the indoor location ecosystem and opportunity as a very big one. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so like just we have 15 minutes.